Today I was working on this track for a project and I was completely stuck. It's one of those days where you just need to put one note after the other and hope for the best. But then, very randomly, I opened Pigments and started playing around with the sequencer. Within minutes, it gave me an idea that unlocked the whole direction of the track, and I finished the whole thing in 3-4 hours. So that's what inspired this video. I'll show you how I use Pigments as an idea generator even when I'm not using Pigments as a sound source. Let's do it. Okay, we're in the sequencer tab, of course, and the first thing I want to touch on is that the sequencer has two different modes, arpeggiator and sequencer. The difference is that in sequencer mode, you'll be using Pigments to actually generate the pitches being played relatively to the key you're holding on. But if I play any other note, Pigments is going to transport that sequence automatically in the new key. So for example, if I hold down a D, it's gonna play D, E, F sharp, G. In arpeggiator mode instead, you decide the pitches to play by holding down all the notes you want. And Pigments is going to play them back in the order defined by all the parameters that we're going to look at. We'll look at the sequencer in this video as this is the one that has all the generative feature I want to talk about. Everything you learn applies to the arpeggiator as well anyway. With that out of the way, let me go through all the main features very quickly. There are a bunch of different playback modes. There is backward, forward, pendulum and random, and this basically defines the way the sequence moves across the steps. Of course, let's try pendulum more forward and backward. There you go. There are 16 different steps that you can have, and you can shorten the sequence, but even better, and this is one of my favorite tricks, you can activate the polymetry switch and change the length of the different lanes independently, which is great if you want to create very cool patterns, because you can have, for example, pitch, 7 steps, and then you can have 11 actual steps, and then you can change the velocity, which will kind of move across those, and then have different octaves. Obviously this is horrible because it's not programmed, but you get the point. Every step also has a probability setting from 0 to 100% that is going to define how probable it is that that actual step is going to occur. And you can also randomize all the other parameters, velocity, slide, octave, literally anything by clicking and dragging on the dice. So this is pretty capable already, and before we move forward, I want to show you the most important thing I want to pass in this video. There is no reason why you shouldn't use this sequencer to trigger stuff outside of Pigments. Here it is triggering contact, for example. Or even hardware synths. But another thing I love using Pigments for is all the generative features. If you're not familiar with the term generative music, this basically means music that is sort of ever-changing and ever-evolving, and the sequencer is absolutely great for this. Let's go under generation and let's explore the sequencer scales that they have over here. They have all the classic ones and a couple of very interesting options. They even have one of my favorite scales of all time, the Hirajoshi scale, which is one of the pentatonic Japanese scales originally used to tune the koto, which is sounding great, and they have it under the name Japanese Thriller, which is such a great name for it. If you select the scale and then you click on the dice, this will generate a sequence based on the scale. Love it. But even cooler than that, you can select a time interval for the regen, for the auto regen, which means that past that time, the sequence will regenerate itself. So you literally have this ever-changing sequences, and note that you can even tweak the probability that each note in that scale gets picked. And I'm gonna try this with the preset I programmed earlier. I love this for ambient music, but even more, this is a great way to come up with new ideas, and this is exactly what I've done for this track I was working on. I let the sequencer trigger my sequential take 5, hit record, and then I found this snippet. Note that velocity is modulating the envelope one amount to the filter on the synth, and this is part of the MIDI method, so it's working to modulate the filter cutoff on the synth. I found a snippet of a phrase that I liked, and then I wrote the whole track based on this fragment. As usual, I hope this was useful. If you are looking at getting seriously into Pigment 6, check out my full guide to the latest big update over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.